Looks like we got everything online.
We on Twitch. I see we working.
Yeah.
Awesomeness sauce.
Audio is not too loud. See what's going on with that later. Yeah. So it looks like we're good. It looks like we can roll that.
Rolling down the river.
Alrighty. Hello there.
Hello.
Welcome. It's another Tuesday night with Scuba and Ry.
Ry Guy. With the Scuba guy.
Yeah.
Scuba and Ry.
Alright. Well.
Yes.
It's kind of... What you been up to, man?
What have I been up to? It's just been busy at my work for various reasons. Lots of training, lots of changes. But, you know, I take everything head on. But, you know, that is the world of health insurance. So, changes are coming. Got to stay afloat.
Of course, of course.
But other than that, just been kind of relaxing. Prepping for that GRE test, which I'll be taking.
When are you taking that?
March 6th.
March 6th?
I already signed up. Already paid and signed up. I do got to find the testing site. It is over here near you, over off Battlefield.
Oh,
in the
okay.
Office Park. I'll probably go out there like one weekend just to see where it is. And then
Battlefield is a pretty long road, so.
It's off right there behind Lowe's.
Oh, Volvo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere back there, but yeah, that's
Gotcha.
March 6th. So during the week, I go to the library one day, and I prep on the writing portion or prep on the verbal portion. I haven't really touched on the math portion, but because of the degree I'm going in, I don't think it's a very big deal with the math portion. Plus, I skimmed over the stuff that is math, and I kind of know it. So I'll probably leave that for last.
Okay.
For review, but other than that, just relaxing. I did go and venture out over to IKEA on Saturday. Haven't been in there in a while since it opened. Looking for a new couch, so I wanted to test the waters there first. So there's a few couches on there that I got on my maybe buy list, but I got out of there really quick because if I stayed in there too long, I would have bought something. Yes. So, but that's it. Just pretty relaxing weekend. Other than the big events when it comes to professional football.
Oh yes, Superbowl was this past weekend. So
yes.
Good, bad, or indifferent. It was a pretty cool game.
Very, very, very great. I like it when games are close. So it keeps it entertaining. So the game was close. So,
yeah, the game was intense.
Oh yeah. So two top teams going against each other. It's usually going to happen that way.
So how did you approach your Super Bowl Sunday?
How did I approach my Super Bowl Sunday? Well, the tradition is usually whenever it's the Super Bowl, I always get two large pizzas from Why Not, a great local institution. Check it out if you come in to visit. So I get 2 large pizzas there, and then I go and usually there's another place I usually get wings, but I just decided to get the wings from Wegmans because I just throw it in the oven and bake it for a few minutes, 15 minutes. It came out fine.
Oh, that's good.
So about 40 plus wings, a big pizza. My dad did cook some ribs, so we had that too.
Nice.
And a bunch of chips and dip.
Okay.
So that's how I prepped, and then we just sat there and watched the game and just joked, chattered, and had a good time. So and that's pretty much it. This was a very low-key weekend, so yeah.
Low-key?
Yeah, low-key. Catching up on some shows and other things.
All right. Well, I mean, let's talk about the game because it's
right.
Obviously the big media thing for January is going to be the Super Bowl, and this year it was, of course, in Miami.
Oh yes. I almost thought about going. We almost thought about going, but tickets would cost me half my 401k, so not worth it.
Skittles wanted to watch it. She was asking me, "Hey, can we watch Super Bowl?
Okay.
Can we watch Super Bowl?" So I was like, "All right." So, do Super Bowl. Obviously, now funny thing is while at work for the day or over over at Ballahack, there were a lot of we had a pretty good turnout.
Yep.
And then about mid-afternoon, people were leaving, and it's like, just asking, okay, what you leaving so soon? Because I'm being friendly and all that.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I got to go home for Super Bowl parties. I'm like, but and all that's because I'm not a big Super Bowl person. I'm not a big professional sports person.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I don't know all the rules. It's not a very stereotypically acceptable thing for a guy to not be into football.
Well, there are a lot of guys that aren't really into football, but it's been bred into me since I was a young age. So,
I mean, I did try out for my high school team. I got on the field. I put on the pads. I didn't like it, so I left.
Yeah.
Because I preferred the backyard football that felt a little more fun. Yeah. Getting into all that structure or whatever, it wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, so of course, because of that, I don't really pay attention to what's going on in football. I mean, I'm a little more familiar with it now because it's good conversation piece with people, because if you're looking for a good conversation or an icebreaker, you can talk about, if you pay attention to certain current events, like when the combine pops up, preseason, post, all of that. Like, it makes for good conversation. Who's
going to be the top pick? What do you think your team's going to do this year? Yada, yada, yada.
Who's got the whole draft thing is really confusing to me, but I'm sure we can go into that later. But so Skittles wanted to do this. Of course, we didn't do any Super Bowl party or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just we're going to put the game on and we're going to watch it.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm coming off the field after 2 days, and so I'm a little tired. So I'm just like, I'm going to sit and we're going to watch. And we got through the first half.
Yeah.
Even through the halftime show before it was like, all right, I've got to go pick up Top Shelf from work. Because I was why a game that is an hour long is a 3-hour ordeal. I'm still not understanding that.
It's just
I mean, if you think about it, it's like each quarter is 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's an hour. Why is it it started at 6:30 Eastern and ended at 9:30 Eastern? Roughly.
Well, you have to factor in commercial breaks.
Yeah.
This game is a little bit longer because the halftime show, they put in a special.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got the first half is a half an hour, the second half is a half an hour, and you got the halftime show, which is roughly a half an hour.
A little tidbit rule for the games. If you've never been to live games, they actually have a guy on the field that will purposely, when games are televised, they have to make mandatory breaks outside of just the general timeouts. And then there's a guy that's wearing orange sleeves on the field, and he'll come up near the refs and he'll whine like this to be like, okay, TV timeout. It's an obligation with the networks to take certain amount of breaks, commercials. So it's an extra timeout for the players. So,
what happened back in the old day where it's like game started, game played, and commercials came in, but they still played. They were not bowing down to this enterprise.
Hey, it's all tied into the money.
Anyway, yeah. So, first half was exciting. Of course, I'm rooting for the Chiefs.
I was rooting for the Chiefs too, people. Patrick Mahomes is my boy. I love that.
Was not feeling the whole root for the 49ers. I really wasn't. But, you know, and Skittles was rooting for the Chiefs as well. Mm-hmm. My wife was rooting for the 49ers. And so it's like she went to bed about right about the time the halftime show kicked off. So she didn't see the second half. So, but going into that halftime with the fact it was tied up 10-10, it was like, oh, that's pretty good, because even though I'm not a big football person, seeing a game that is not a complete shutout, you know, or like horribly lopsided, that felt like it was worthwhile watching.
Yes.
So the second half. So what did you think of the first half?
First half was what I expected. You know, you have two young teams that are going for the ultimate prize, and going for the ultimate prize, you know, you're going to have some jitters. So you can, watching the game, you can tell that they were playing on both sides a little bit conservative, but the Niners had a little more of the upper edge because their defense is the top defense in the league. Mm-hmm. Like, I called it before the start of the season that I predicted that San Francisco would make it to the Super Bowl because like I follow the teams in the off season, and watching how that defense come together. That whole front line are all first round picks. That front four is all first round picks. So, it's just a reminder of like those old school defenses from back in the day, like the Steel Curtain from the 70s, yada yada yada.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, it is what I was expected. They were kind of just feeling each other up, trying to figure out how to tackle each side. So, it was pretty even in the first half.
All right. So yeah, I thought that was good. And then second half, I was 9 minutes left of the third quarter is when I left to go pick up Top Shelf. I expected, to my own mistake here, that the game would be over by the time I got to where he worked, because it's roughly a 40-minute drive for me.
Yeah.
So, knowing that each quarter is 15 minutes, 9 minutes left to one, plus 15, that's less than 40 minutes. No, I get there, and there's like 10 minutes left of the fourth quarter. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But I was there to watch that impressive touchdown, bringing it up to because in the time I was driving, San Francisco scored another 10 points.
Yep. So it was 20-10.
And then I was there when the Chiefs pulled off another touchdown. So when I left to make the drive home, I was it was 20 to 17. On the radio? No.
Okay.
I wouldn't know which channel.
94.1.
See that I plug my phone in. I listen to what's on my driving playlist, and that's it.
No, I do the same thing with my phone. But just a FYI, if you're ever in the area, it's 94.1.
Okay, so get home. Yeah. And of course, I leave, and it's like 20 to 17. Yeah. 49ers are up. I get home. Skittles is like, we won, 31 to 20, and I'm like, wow, because when I left, there was 6 minutes left in the game. Apparently, I missed it where the Chiefs were like, we're done with this. We're gonna put you in your place now.
Oh yeah, they're known as the comeback kids, because all their playoffs games they were down and they came back to win. But the thing is, that Kansas City has a very quick strike offense. So even if you keep them down for like 3.5 quarters, they have enough weapons on their offense where they can just quickly strike, which you saw. You saw.
I did see quite a bit of it, because there was some really impressive plays.
Patrick Mahomes is like the new face of the league. Like he is like one of the best young quarterbacks coming up in the league. And when he got drafted by Kansas City 3 years ago, like I predicted that he would be a Super Bowl champion because of the way he plays. He plays efficient. He has an arm, a cannon for an arm, and he can just make plays happen.
Okay.
He's just so versatile because he can run, but he's a passer, so he's always looking downfield trying to find his receivers. So,
but still, it was a great game, good and well deserved. Yeah. And now it's like a couple weeks. We got Combine coming up, and then preseason stuff.
I'm really, really glad to see Andy Reid get a Super Bowl, because he was already considered a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame because of all the accolades he's done as a coach. This was just topping on the cake. So.
Yep. And then the halftime show. That halftime show was just wild.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, but there's definitely some. It was funny because I went to Sunrise for breakfast the day after. Okay. Right, and
a good local institution. Check it out.
Yeah, I had to be out like stupid early.
For work?
No. What was it? Monday morning, I rolled over there because I rolled over there Saturday morning because I had to drop Top Shelf off at a friend's house to do a D&D session before he went to work. And I was like, I got time before I have to be on the field. Yeah. I'm going to get breakfast. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to go get a real breakfast. So I went over to Sunrise. Great breakfast, pancakes, eggs, home fries, whole 9 yards. It was great. And then Monday I went over there, and of course it was very quiet. It was me, the one other patron was there, and then staff, and we were talking about that whole thing, and it was just that reaction to the halftime show. Where it's like it was a good halftime show. And I don't know how much you know of Shakira's style.
Oh yeah,
or whatever,
I know about Shakira's style.
Could tell. But the other guy was sitting there, and he made sense. Is like he was like, it looked like she was holding back because it looked like Shakira was having a lot of fun, but you could also tell she was holding back when she had the other dancers on there, as opposed to when they weren't there and she didn't have to worry about keeping pace with them. So, and then
she is a trained belly dancer.
Oh yeah, she's got the moves, and she's aged really well.
Well, yeah, like when you see both her and J-Lo on stage, you don't realize that they are their age. I think J-Lo is over 50, right?
I don't know. I don't follow J-Lo. I don't care about J-Lo.
I know. Just keep talking.
I'm not a fan of J-Lo lately. The pre-2000 stuff maybe.
50. She's 50 years old.
So but my point was didn't seem like they really were paying attention to, so not all of it being very family friendly, because I realized that there are points of this where it was all about empowering women, and that's the new thing, which I'm totally fine with. Yeah. But it also seems like you're trying to empower and change the stereotypes, but your dance routines are playing into all the stereotypes.
There was a conversation of this that happened, among people that they talk about the same thing, but the thing is, it doesn't bother me.
This is what they choose to do, and it's like, okay, but I can see that having a young daughter, and then it's like, all about that, but then it's like, okay, and J-Lo last year did hustle, and then she had the pole and was doing a routine, doing a couple of moves on the pole, which fit in with there, but the costume choices and some of the other stuff, it's like, doesn't it seem like it almost seems like it might be a possible mixed signal here. Or also, it's like I can see why, like the waitress at the restaurant was just like thought it was absolutely disgusting with their routine, because it's like why should they be up there doing that with kids watching the Super Bowl?
I could counter the argument, like it's a valid argument, but at the same time, these are the same people that did not complain about Adam Levine being shirtless last year. So,
yeah, it's
a mixture of everybody has an opinion, everybody has their thing. Like, I get it, it can be tasteless, but they gotta understand one thing. You gotta realize where the Super Bowl was happening. It was happening in Miami, a very large Latino population down there, and that's how that's how they party down there.
Which, it's fine. I think the whole thing was cool. I think
But I will never say somebody's wrong for saying they didn't like it. No. Like, I always understand both points.
And actually, I preferred Shakira's part more than J-Lo's part.
I like Shakira more anyway. That's just me being biased, people.
I like her music.
Don't lie.
Where's my drum soundbite for that, man? Oh, God. All right. So yeah, there was a halftime show, Super Bowl, post Super Bowl. It was good. I mean,
it was a great Super Bowl. I like close games.
And of course, the other great thing with talking Super Bowl is talking the commercials.
Oh yeah,
there were some really wild commercials.
There were some really good ones. One of the ones that had my brother laughing hard was the Jason Momoa one. The Jason Momoa commercial was probably the topping on the cake.
Oh,
when you go
Skittles and my wife were so distraught over that commercial.
I love that commercial.
It just like I just beat my. It's just like
because
I was dying.
It did an about face the fact of it challenged the image of masculinity, but at the same time it showed an appreciation of being yourself. And the fact that he couldn't lift up a bar when he was weighing, and then his wife just put it up there was topping of the cake.
Or the trainer or whoever it was with him.
Oh, that was his wife.
Oh, that was?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's why it was so funny.
It's just the taking off all the muscles and then the hair. It's just like, it was great. That one was good. One of my favorite ones was the Jeep commercial.
The Jeep commercial, the Groundhog Day one. That was hilarious. The fact that Bill Murray just took the woodchuck and just did whatever the heck he wanted.
No. It's more than that. It's realizing that a lot of all those actors that were in Groundhog Day reprised those roles for that commercial.
Oh yeah, it's so great. You saw the faces. I was like, oh my god, oh my god.
It's like, Phil, Ned, no. It's like, because in the movie he does grab the groundhog and drives off a cliff with it. But this one in the pickup truck, and this one he's driving with the gladiator. It's like, oh, we're just gonna have fun now.
Oh yeah, and another one that I liked. It was near the end, but it was funny. It was the Doritos Old Town Road Showdown. Did you watch that one? The one with Sam Elliott? That had me laughing. The fact that when he looked and, Lil Nas X got in his horse to dance, Sam Elliott turned to his horse, and the horse was like, Yes.
That
there
was
I actually think...
oh my gosh.
It's been a while since they actually had great commercials overall. Like, every commercial hit either a comedic tone, a dramatic tone. It hit every emotion. Mm-hmm. So,
and of course we have the movie preview for Black Widow.
Oh yeah, we had Black Widow. There was Top Gun.
Top Gun right at the start.
No Time to Die.
Yes.
They did a montage of Fast 9. But the one that caught me off guard, because I did not know they were going to show it, was when Marvel teased their shows. There's 3 shows coming out.
I missed that. I missed it. That must have been while I was driving.
Oh no, it was in the 4th quarter, but all they did was bring up. All they did was first they showed Cap's shield, and I'm just thinking maybe it's just a Marvel thing, but then you see Falcon grab the shield and start training with it. So it was a montage. It was just a montage of Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and then at the very end Loki. Just a little hint at Loki. But the one that caught my eye was the WandaVision, because they showed a montage and it looked so weird that it gravitated to my imagination. I
think weren't they marketing this as like a sitcom?
Yes, the way the way the montage displayed it showed Scarlet Witch in various different costumes, including the old school X-Men costume. So, and then there was like a black and white, a 50s one, and it did enough to pique your interest because it looks so weird, and I like weird things when it comes to like shows and movies. So, yeah, that was the highlight, just because I didn't expect to see that one. I was expecting to see some of the summer movies that show up. Oh, and A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yes, that one is definitely kind of out there.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I enjoy. I think they did a good job of mixing it in, and then the whole stain shirt one. I just love they danced that line of cheesiness perfectly, because they quietly
the beauty of that one is the fact that it's a running gag throughout the entire Super Bowl. Yeah. That I think is the best part. Oh, and you got to admit that opening commercial that led into the opening of the game.
Oh, you meant the kid running?
Take it to the house. Take it to the house. It's like all those various Super Bowl football personalities in that commercial throughout that entire moment, and then they timed it to where him running onto the field it was great. I thought it was really good.
Yes, that was so great. I did not know they were going to be doing that.
No, that's the beauty of it. I think that's one of the things that makes it the best is the fact that you don't. Is it tied in so well, and it was very low key. It was not bombastic in any way. It's just there's this kid playing backyard football and then running the football. So I thought it was really fun. I thought the whole thing was great. I like the tribute to the World War II guys. That was awesome. It's nice to see them being honored like that.
I like how the Tuskegee Airman, he got his cane. He put his cane. He's like, no, I'm walking on the field. He's like, I'm putting my cane down. So That's strength right there.
Oh yeah, that's.
But overall, great Super Bowl.
Great Super Bowl, lots of fun. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Oh yeah.
So now I think we're in the basketball season.
Oh yeah, basketball season is heating up. Baseball, they're about to go to spring training. You know, players go down south for spring training. So you know, sports just keep on rolling.
Rolling. So, alrighty. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and get into our movie reviews.
Movie review, and this is another Scuba and Ry journey to the theaters.
Yes, it is.
And actually, the very last minute, because I text you at the very last minute on this one.
Alrighty, so this week we're going to talk about Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
Alright, now this is a film that was released last year. But it was re-released because it's an Oscar contender.
Yes. So what AMC Theaters does is that when the Best Pictures come out, they go and they rotate the Best Pictures until the night of.
Alright, so tell me what you thought of Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit, I think you already know. I kind of, but Jojo Rabbit. Just to get just a quick premise, it focuses on a boy named Jojo, played by Roman Davis, who lives with his mother Rosie, played by Scarlett Johansson, and they live in Nazi Germany. And the oddity thing is that the boy is obsessed with being the best Nazi in the world, and he has an imaginary friend who happens to be Hitler.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, this is tying into the whole Hitler Youth thing of the 1940s of World War II Germany, and the film is also taking place in the latter part of World War II.
Oh yeah, so very near the end of the campaign.
Yeah, I think this is probably the last year or so of the war, going right into V-Day or whatever.
Yeah. So with that, him wanting to be the best Nazi for Nazi Germany, he comes to certain revelations happen about his mother and who's living in the house, and that leads to a lot of fun-filled satirical moments in the film.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those. It's a good film, but I think it's one of those. It's one of those films that what really makes it great is your reflection on the film after watching it.
Yes.
As you sit there and mentally break down the various jokes and scenes, it's like it makes more sense. So I think to really appreciate that, we're going to put that spoiler warning out now. If you have not seen Jojo Rabbit, go find it, go watch it.
Spoiler. It's been out for a while, so we can do this. Sorry,
this is spoil. I'm going to spoil this one, so
okay.
I'm going to make a note in the movie notes here that we do spoil this because I think to really appreciate how I feel about the film, you kind of have to go into some of this and really showcase that while you watched it, and you get one impression, and it's after you watch the film and you reflect on the film that the true appeal of the film really starts to come together.
Oh yeah.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead and continue on.
Okay, so this film is pretty much written and directed by Taika Waititi. If you recognize his name, he did Thor Ragnarok. He did the final episode of The Mandalorian. So he has a very skewed sense of humor. He does a lot of tongue-in-cheek things, but it's predicated on physical humor and very cheesy wittiness with the conversations that characters have with each other.
Yes,
because it's very about face. It's what he does with this movie is he makes living in Nazi Germany fun in a very ironic way.
Oh, this is totally tongue in cheek.
It's totally tongue in cheek, and it's very very outrageous within its own satire of Nazi Germany, and it's very great because of the colorful cast that happens to be in this movie.
Yes.
And they help make the movie. Not only does Jojo and his interaction with his imaginary friend Hitler, also played by Taika Waititi, it's everybody around him that makes his
mom, the Sam Rockwell's character, even the kid who played Theon Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. He's in there for a little bit. I think there's
Alfie
another.
Allen.
I think there's another comedian type person. The one chick.
The one chick, Rebel Wilson plays one of Sam Rockwell's sergeants.
All of these, and then JoJo's buddy, his best friend. It's just like there's all this stuff. But now, going into this film, I thought it was going to be kind of a let's tell the same old tired World War II story.
I did not know that Scuba knew nothing about this movie.
No, yeah, I did. I knew nothing about this. I saw the couple of commercials. I was like, okay, cool. This could be interesting. But I'm thinking about it, driving out to the theater that night. Sorry, my nose itches.
Oh, that's fine.
Driving out to the theater that night, I was thinking it's going to be his take on the Diary of Anne Frank material. Or that story, which is a great story. The great thing, but that whole bit for hiding the Jews being persecuted and them being German citizens hiding Jews to try and protect them and so on and so forth. So I'm going into it thinking it's going to be okay. Here's a modern retelling of that. So I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. With that in mind, I sit down at the theater and then it starts going, and I'm just totally at first hating the film. I'm gonna be honest. I hated the first part as going into it because it felt too cheesy. Because it's like I'm not good on cheesiness.
You've mentioned before that cheesiness there's a fine line.
Yeah, there's a fine line with it. It tends to turn me off. But then it was like, okay, we're going into this film, and when I first start the film and seeing the cheesiness, I'm like, I can't do this. I just hand over my head. I just can't.
I saw you from the corner of my eye.
And then it's like, as the film goes, I start to realize that this is straight up, tongue-in-cheek, spoofing, mocking everything about Nazi Germany.
Yeah, it does that great about face, and that's what I love about satire, and especially this being a very dark satire.
Yes.
That it allows Taika Waititi to be able to present living in Nazi Germany through the innocent eyes of a child. So you get that sense of believability through the satire, which also helps create a retrospective angle of Nazi Germany from within.
Yeah, but
he predicates it on comedy.
This is totally tongue in cheek and mocking all of this stuff, which sometimes that's what you got to do, especially this far removed from that. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
And that comedy allows for like a fallible sense of honesty.
Yes.
People are just matter of fact, like it's just we gotta.
It was great, and there's like the whole first part in there where it's like his imaginary where his imaginary Hitler is like, well, you're this and this and this, and you're really not that popular, but hey, you could go out and do the best you can do. It's just like, okay. And then, so going through that, and then toward the end of the film, it was like realizing that there was a lot of creativity. The talent of several of the actors is really showcased in how they worked with the role.
Well, yeah. They took and pushed the archetypes to another extreme by adding not only a colorful dynamic within their interactions, but they added their own stylings with the dialogue.
And the propaganda jokes, everything.
The propaganda jokes, the dark humor when it comes to Nazis' hatred for the Jewish population, and just the interesting dynamic between. I think the great thing is seeing the relationship between Rosie and JoJo, because you get to see like an opposition of belief, but they still love each other.
Oh yeah,
and it's predicated on what happens near the end.
She's even like he's fanatical. There's nothing you can do about it.
He's a fanatic, and also the fact that when JoJo finds out that a Jewish girl is living in the house. There's a spoiler already warning out there. But
yeah, not only is she in the house, but she's in a secret alcove in his sister's room, whose sister died prior to the events of the film anyway.
Yeah.
But his mom hid this girl in there. And when he finds her, I swear I thought they were spoofing a horror film.
Oh, they did. And it was great.
I cannot remember which horror film, and so if you've seen it and can remember the horror film that it's spoofed in this scene, you know what I'm talking about.
I think
it was hilarious.
It was either The Ring or The Grudge. It felt like it was either The Ring or The Grudge that they were making a mockery of.
I want to think it's The Ring because the girl's dark-haired, but I love how it's like, it leads up, and she's like, hi.
Yeah.
And he just freaks out.
That horror, that's another great example of genre bending within the satire that puts that retrospective on Nazi Germany, because all these people think that, you know, the Jewish people are, you know, monsters, in the way they predicate that with that scene. It showcases that through the satire. Mm-hmm. So that's another good scene. And then that relationship between her and Jojo highlights the indifferences that are within the society, but it also shows Jojo becoming his own person. So it's there's a little pseudo coming of age when he's learning the truth of maybe not everything told about them is true.
Yeah. Or it's like, she realizes he's an idiot.
Oh yeah,
that just totally plays into it. There was a nice nod to Usual Suspects.
Yes,
in that I love that because that made sense to me. And then the jokes. Oh
yeah, and she just being so blunt. And not understanding that she was just pretty much messing with him the whole time. Especially when she put him in a chokehold.
Oh, yeah.
Put him on the floor.
and then, of course, right thereafter, Tycho shows up in his imaginary Hitler. It's just like the two of them was so great in this. What do we do? I don't know. This is really freaking weird. Yeah.
Yes. That dynamic of how do you make Hitler... fun. Taika Waititi made Hitler fun. It made him the voice of reason, ironically. You know, in a very askew, dark way.
And so, what did you give the film after? Because I know you wrote the review a few days after seeing it.
Yeah.
Did you feel what did you give this film?
What I gave this film, I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Full price.
Now here, it's a 2-part question. Yeah. Second part. Do you feel your rating changed the more time it took you from watching the film? I know normally you don't go based on your initial impressions. Immediately after watching, you let it stew for a couple of days. Yeah. Do you feel as you were reviewing the film mentally, your review was actually ticking up?
No. When I walked out of the movie, I was like, this is a full price movie. And whenever I automatically come out, like, either full price, matinee, theater discount, perfect, whatever review, like, if I come out feeling one way, I take those few days to think about, why do I feel that way? So, it never goes, well, there are times when the movies go up or down when I'm writing.
Well, let's focus on this particular one, because film. I have a perspective on that I wanted to get yours first before I explain
I came on the movie, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, you know that, because I keep talking about it. And when I was like, okay, I know what I said that this was a full price movie. And so when I went and sat down and wrote the review, it was still the same thing. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It predicates on mixing a lot of different genres, but it's very, very, it's very well written. It stays on one point, and it allows the characters to breathe in this world that Taika Waititi creates within this playground. Mm-hmm. So, and I love a great script that knows how to play dark humor and satire against each other, and know how to dance the line of tongue-in-cheek. Because sometimes you can dance the line and you can be too... What pushes cheesiness over the edge, where I do not like it, is when they just do a lot of repetition of simplistic jokes, try to make it more than what it seems. Mm-hmm. Waititi... in this film and other films that he's done, it shows that he knows how to play that line, but just enough. Mm-hmm. He knows how to play that line because he's slick with his dialogue. Because his dialogue is all about being bombastic and then, like, serious. But he knows how to mix it in. This movie showcases it the way, like, it plays, and then at the very end, when the war comes home, what happens to his mother, and him, having to trust this girl going forward. Yeah. So he knows how to blend it. Yeah,
I found that walking out of the theater, I was giving it a 2.5 to 3 out of 5. I thought it was good, as realizing that whatever I went into the film thinking it was going to be, it was not that. But then realizing that if you take the film as a complete tongue-in-cheek approach to this, and it is just kind of fun, then the film kind of changes. I kind of want to watch it again because I missed part of it because when it's corny, I just can't
want to
watch
this movie again because I had so much fun.
But what I've realized a few days after, now it's ticked up more. I would probably give it a 3.5 or a 4, and that's more or less because there are certain elements of the film that are subtle. Like there's very subtle foreshadowing, and you don't really realize it till you think back on it. Like when we look at his mom.
Yeah.
Every time we introduce his mom, after the initial introduction, it's always she's elevated to where all you see is her feet.
Yeah.
And then it goes up to the rest of her.
Yeah. Which,
okay, that's interesting. And then finally the payoff, 20 minutes later, is when he finds her after she's been outed by the Gestapo.
Yeah. But
I thought that was very subtle.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that was kind of...
See, that's a very astute point because that showcases how you write foreshadowing without being too obvious.
Yes.
See, a lot of movies have foreshadowing. Some are obvious, some are not. But when you do it like that, and it comes back to hit you, that scene, it hit you. Like, it hit me. Like, when it hit, I was like, whoa. Like, I was hurt.
Yeah,
I was hurt.
That was good. And I think another good thing for the film and the good element, probably an underscored element, is Scarlett Johansson's character performance.
Yeah, she is nominated for Best Supporting Actress for this film. So
it was really kind of good because we've seen a lot of her in these particular roles. And here's a role that's completely different, and it looked like it was better for her than some of this stuff that's more traditional what we've seen her for. Like
Scarlett Johansson, it's anybody that knows me knows she's my favorite actress, but it's not because of her Marvel roles. No. It's everything that led up to her Marvel roles. Like she's a very great actress, from movies like A Girl with Pearl Earrings to Match Point to there's a few other ones that she's very smaller roles, but it showcases her ability to act.
Yeah, which you don't really have in the Marvel films or in those action.
Lost in Translation, another one.
Yeah. It also showcases again, right director, right script, right cast. It's a success.
Yeah.
So I think overall, if we talk that one to it's a conclusion.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of stuff we didn't go over with the film because there's so many jokes and so many different character interactions that it's like you really kind of have to watch this once or twice to really catch everything that's going on in the film.
And just a note, this is based on a book by the name of Caging Skies. So a very good example of a great adaptation.
Alrighty. Wow. All right. Let's see what we got next on the docket. Actually, you know what? We really don't have a state of game this week.
Yeah, I didn't play any games except for Pokemon Go.
Well, I was out on the airsoft field, of course, because I'm like there all the time. In fact, I did an update on my profile picture today, and apparently it's been quite a hit.
Oh yeah, you're like, this is me. No.
I was actually, when he took this photo, I was just like, really?
Yeah, you're like, you had that look. I'm very familiar with that look.
And it was, but it was kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how I look every weekend now.
Yeah.
So I thought it was good. Gameplay over the weekend was great. We did have, the weather was cooperated. It wasn't like raining.
Yeah.
But, the parking lot's been expanded, so we had to kind of contend with that.
Well, that's good.
Well, we're getting so much more busier there that we had to expand the parking lot. So, got an excavator and was starting to expand out the parking lot. Should should be nicer coming into this weekend. But it was good being out there. It was good. The players did fairly well. Nothing really major happened. Attack and defend and all that. It was good times. It really was. Probably the cool thing that we were kind of as an undertone in conversation throughout the whole day was there's an airsofter named Navrich. Obviously, if you're familiar with airsoft, you know who Navrich is. Navrich is a guy who has a field in Austria, and he's a pretty influential sniper brand, right? He released 2 new rifles this week, the A1 and the A2, and we had a couple on the field to kind of people had picked them up and were testing them out, and all this discussion about how are these and whatnot.
Yeah. So
actually so it's like there was that conversation. Then it was just overall it's like, all right, how's working through gameplay. But it was good days. It was good times. Not really a whole lot to discuss on that one, so I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about it. I mean, it was just a lot. It was good weather, good days, and kind of go from there. I'm rambling, so definitely got to move on.
Moving on.
So we'll just move on to do odds and ends.
Oddies and endies. Falling into a rabbit hole. Or great news. Whichever one works best.
Alrighty, so odds and ends. We got a number of them here.
Maybe some late bloomers.
Well, we'll go with what's on the notes and kind of get in there. It's like, so why don't you take the first one?
First one is some movie news dropping down reported on Screen Rant. Lethal Weapon 5 is a go, and Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and original director returns. So, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and original director Richard Donner are all on board to return for Lethal Weapon 5.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So the last one was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, the last one, Lethal Weapon 4, which put Jet Li on the American map because a lot of people knew about him. Yeah, it came out late 90s.
98, I believe.
Yeah.
That's kind of a twist. 20 years.
Oh yeah.
After the last film, you want to pick this up again?
Oh yeah, but but you can see why they might want to do it because we had a movie that just released not too long. A couple weeks ago, Bad Boys for Life, which was a long time between sequels, but it's gotten praise from critics and fans and is making a lot of money.
Yeah, but this is a different film.
Oh yeah.
The Lethal Weapon franchise is so different than Bad Boys.
But yeah.
I mean,
but it's possible, you know.
And the fourth one did kind of button things up anyway.
Kind of wrapped it up. It's been a minute since I've seen it.
It's not so much you have Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. It's the fact that the supporting cast, once you got into Lethal Weapon 4, was just a lot of people.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of people in that cast because you had
Rene Russo, Joe Pesci,
Chris Rock,
the
bad guy. So
I mean, there's a lot going on in that film.
Yeah, there's a lot, definitely a lot. And 98, July 10th, 98.
So yeah.
But you know, with the sign that all franchises can be renewed again, as long as you have, you know, a dedicated group and, you know, a good story.
Let's put that in perspective too, because both Danny Glover and Mel Gibson had expressed when they finished Lethal Weapon 4, they were not wanting to come back to this franchise. They were done until Shane Black, who wrote the original Lethal Weapon, had another script. So I guess it shows in Hollywood, never say never.
You never say never, especially.
Which, ironically, that is how a Bond film title became.
Never say never, but
yeah, Never Say Never Again is actually because Sean Connery never wanted to do Bond again, and he came back to do Bond, and that was the title of the film because Never Say Never. So, in true Hollywood fashion, Never Say Never. Apparently, they found the right script to convince these guys to come back to this franchise.
Yeah. Because it's definitely, this article goes over not, you know, they weren't really wanting to come back, but they were just kind of like waiting for a script worth bringing them back.
Yeah.
And the fact that you got the main group coming back, the main
Well, considering
trio.
Danny Glover just came back onto the acting circuit because he's been off hiatus for a while when he came back to do Jumanji: The Next Level. Mel Gibson, of course, came back out of nowhere for Expendables 3.
Yeah.
So it's not that they've been off the map for a while. Now they're coming. Having them come back shouldn't be too terrible.
But like I said, seeing what Bad Boys did, being a different kind of film, but the fact that you can take an old if you find the right script, you can make it work.
Okay, which that can go for a conversation we'll have after this. But all right, so the next one we have here is again film related, but this is more on the technical side of film.
Yes, this definitely is on that
Major
side.
film studios renew a deal with Kodak to keep celluloid film alive. Now, apparently, with the advent of the digital revolution, recording movies in digital format seems to be the thing, but there's still a feel and a particular style that comes with using the more analog technology like celluloid film.
Yeah, there's a lot of big name directors that love using the old film because they feel a purist sensation when they're creating their stories on this. So you have like big names like Christopher Nolan's one of the group, J.J. Abrams, Quentin Tarantino, Edgar Wright, and Judd Apatow. They love using traditional film. So the article, as reported on Collider, quote, Kodak announced on Wednesday that it has re-upped its deal with the 5 major film studios, Disney, NBC, Universal, Paramount, Sony, and Warner Brothers, to commit to buying undisclosed amounts of celluloid film for the purpose of making movies, end quote.
Which is good. I mean, obviously certain films lend themselves better to the proper media, but I think we're looking at this one, this is not so much about keeping old tech alive, this is about keeping choice for filmmakers.
Yeah. It's keeping choice and it's adding to that nostalgia, but not on top of that. There's an aura when you're watching movies on film. There's just a different like visual appeal that you see, and you're going to get to see a lot of that visual appeal still in 2020. There's some big tentpole movies that are using film,
celluloid film,
celluloid film,
because digital is still a film, even though it's digital.
Yeah, digital, but celluloid. But there are a couple of big films coming out this year that are going to be completely
and they are getting better at preserving celluloid because that's part of that. I feel would be part of the argument to retire celluloid is because keeping the stuff together. I mean, when they restored the Star Wars films from the old celluloid, they really had to do a lot of work to restore the film, let alone start layering all these new things. There.
Yeah, but with that investment...
Love it or hate it, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But with Kodak signing that investment with the big 5 studios, there's going to be money to make sure that it's pristine and be well preserved going into the future.
Yes.
So just highlight some of the big films that are completely on celluloid film this year. Nolan's Tenet comes out in the summer. No Time to Die, the Bond film that comes out this year. Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, and Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. All filmed on celluloid.
All right. So our next one is a bit of Disney news.
Disney raining down, controlling the world.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe not this particular news, but they own most of the world. So.
All right. So to keep you out of suspense, Disney is looking at a live-action Peter Pan. Another one. Only this time they're for the role of Tinkerbell. They're looking at casting Margaret Robbie, as in the chick who is playing Harley Quinn in the upcoming film Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Yes, comes out this weekend, people.
Having her do Tinkerbell after doing Harley, oh Lord.
It's going from one spectrum to another, but it also shows her acting chops when she can go from this one character to this other character.
Really? I mean, come on. If this is supposed to be a retreading or a live action adaptation of the animated Peter Pan, Tinkerbell didn't say anything in that whole film.
Well, it's all going to be all about expressions, and Margot Robbie can give a lot of good expressions. Especially in Wolf of Wall Street, people. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street, so I can't base it on
Yeah.
that. But just from what I've seen of her from Suicide Squad and the commercials for Birds of Prey, okay, it could probably be interesting.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. This is like, again, because when you think of certain film properties or stories that have been told a little too much, this is one that seems like it's been told way too much. Because while we were sitting there to watch Jojo Rabbit, there was a preview for Lost Boys or whatever it is, which is essentially Peter Pan again with the little kids and all of that. Wendy, that's it, Wendy. And it's like, we have Peter Pan, we have Peter Pan Returns or whatever it is, we have Hook, we have Wendy, we have all of these times we've retold this story.
Oh yeah, and the last time it came out was a few years under another live action called Pan, which was like an origin story, which bombed at the box office, completely bombed.
But nobody I don't think it was Disney doing that film, though.
No, it was who did this film? Doing some research, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, so it seems like the Peter Pan thing has been done to death.
Well, yeah, but they're pushing it behind a slew of other live action that are coming up first instead of that. So you got Lilo and Stitch, Pinocchio, Bambi, and The Little Mermaid. Well, The Little Mermaid's already been cast, so
yeah, The Little Mermaid we're already waiting for. Mulan's about to come out
next month.
Lilo and Stitch,
it's going to be on Disney Plus reportedly.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. All right, so our next one, and this one's good for us gamers out there. Over 36,000 Flash games have been saved and are now playable offline. What is up with this one, right?
This I saw this and I was like, what is going on, people? But this is reported on Kotaku. Quote, Adobe announced that it would stop supporting Flash at the end of 2020, so they went ahead and a bunch of Flashpoint games are going open source with a full list of 36,000 games.
Okay, and this is because they're going to drop Flash?
Yeah, they're dropping Flash at near the end of this year.
Oh, well, this kind of preserves that.
Oh yeah.
So any particular games on that list that pique your interest? I never really got into a lot of them, so.
Well, I didn't get a chance to look at the list, but
just the sheer volume.
The sheer volume
of
games. Is what caught my eye.
Yeah.
So I can, with that many in the list, I can probably find a lot of games to play.
All right. Okay, so our next one is Netflix Castlevania Season 3 release is set for March 5th. So, hey, we're going to be looking forward to that one.
Oh, yes. Like, I enjoyed the first two seasons of Castlevania.
Yeah, the new animated one I thought was just phenomenal. I binged both seasons as soon as they came out. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that Netflix likes to do. Like, you'll watch it and then you'll end up watching, like, all the episodes in one day. Just
right?
It hooks you and you just want to keep going. So.
Yeah, well, you got nothing better to do. Just sit there and watch it. Yeah. You know, don't worry about little things like work.
Yeah, sorry, we're Castlevania,
Yeah, right. Like the people who took off the day, like apparently this Monday is supposed to be one of the most called out days. This past Monday is one of the most called out days because people recovering from the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, like just make it a holiday, people.
No,
I just need a day off.
All right, whatever.
Don't want to use my pal.
All right, so our last story for odds and ends is one that's kind of fun for me, and that is how Dungeons and Dragons can help kids develop social emotional learning skills.
All right.
Anybody who's played tabletop RPGs, it's not just Dungeons and Dragons, but the whole gambit of tabletop RPGs, or even just board games in general, using this to teach kids or teach social interactions.
Yes. Board games of any kind, including D&D to Monopoly to card games, it allows you to not only interact with people but handle situations that you normally would not see. I know the great thing about playing these games is that interaction. You get to talk among people, decide what to do with together with people when you're going on journeys or when you're going head to head in games and stuff, and just trying to figure out how to be competitive, but also, respectful at the same time.
So, I mean, this is nice. This article is from kqed.org. I'm just going to read this first part because this first part is what really kind of nails it for the whole thing with gaming. Many of the kids who arrive at Lee High School in Vermont, it's their last chance at school. They have serious behavioral challenges and are difficult to address in traditional settings. Lee High is a democratic school that emphasizes a therapeutic approach to student learning. It also uses a variety of personal learning strategies to develop curriculum around the students' passions and interests, including the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons. A few years ago, one of Kyle Cohan's students with autism asked if the game could be played in class, and it has since become a cornerstone of the school's program. I mean, that's right there. It's like you're getting kids... I've always been a big person who believes in if you're having fun, you're learning. Especially with kids. If you can make the material fun, you'll learn it. I mean, it's been documented. It should not be any surprise to anybody who's worked with kids in certain capacities that if the kids are having fun or you make it a game, they're learning. Because even I can talk about with Teens on Parade. This is a group of players who most of them never played D&D before.
Yeah.
But have worked through some social stuff and the whole role play element to like, okay, is this behavior good, bad, or indifferent? Even Top Shelf with some of his shenanigans with his characters and realizing that there are consequences. Yeah. You just can't act like this in society.
Yeah, that's the one good thing is that, there's a pros and cons to every decision made when you're playing games, but it gives it a sandbox where you can learn, grow, and improve, but also take those skills and apply it to real life.
Yeah. So I felt that was a pretty cool story
that was a good
to look at.
That was an interesting article to read. I liked it.
Alrighty. Let's see. All right. Well, still got some times in the books. So let's talk. Let's take a few minutes and kind of keep going because we were having that discussion prior to the show, and we'll carry it on for the Patreon section, and that's talking about franchise fatigue.
Franchise fatigue. Yeah, I sparked this, and
yes,
I've seen
you
got passionate. I like the school of passion. The school of passion was great.
Let's talk about some of this. We got Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys for Life.
This is a 3-film franchise.
Yeah,
the Bad Boys franchise.
Yeah, the trilogies are usually the norm.
Yeah,
or 4 and to some degree.
Well, short term, long term, but I've got 3 here that I can make for this, and we'll cover the first 2, and we'll go into the third one as we transition over. So, first one is we have Bad Boys franchise. We had the first movie in the mid '90s, the second movie in the late '90s, early 2000s, and then 17 years later, we have the third film. And the first film felt like a good standalone film. It didn't need to be a franchise, but they made it a franchise. Yeah. Having the sequel. And the sequel, they kind of take it up a notch and get a little more exciting. And then they go into this third film years and years and years later. And and going through this third film, it's like, again, more of the stuff that's kind of over the top. And then it's trying to set up to expand its universe, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Which is fine in a small number of films, but does it really feel like that film could keep going past a third film? Is it really worth going past a third film?
The way they built it in 3, there is worth. It's not like they're pushing, an over the top sensation, but they're playing within the sandbox of their own story.
Okay.
But they build what they do compared to maybe a couple others that we're going to be talking about. They actually layer it with worthy storylines and characters, and actually moving the characters forward.
All right. Okay, so we have that, and then we have the next franchise. As I'm leading up to this, is the Lethal Weapon franchise.
Yes,
because we talked about that. We talked about all of these have to deal with what we talked about today. Lethal Weapon. First Lethal Weapon came out. Then we have an evolution or a growth in the films from 1 through 4.
Yeah.
4 had this large ensemble cast, had this kind of very, very simple kind of story with a goal, and the ensemble cast really makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it ends on a good note. And now we have this discussion about a 5th film coming into the works 20 years or so after the last film was released. If the script is great, I'm all for it. But what I'm worried about is a story that is not showing any growth. Now you're advocating that the Bad Boys franchise, the story has growth.
Yeah.
When we go into our 3rd film. Yes. I haven't seen it yet. I just have the review and our discussion and, high hopes.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon, I've seen bits and pieces of the 1st one. I know I've seen the 4th one.
Yeah.
And I liked how the 4th one kind of had its thing.
Yeah.
You saw the characters evolve throughout all 4 films, and then the 4th story capped everything off, brought off into the sunset. Great. Concern is this 5th installment will not have a unique story. It will be trying to retread a story that's already been done, or certain archetypes that we've already seen within that universe. So, counter argument to that, or counter thought?
I mean, you make valid points. Like, whenever you retread an older franchise, you have that cautionary tale of how do you return to it without being too much of the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have well, we don't know what Lethal Weapon 5 is going to look like, so we can't base it. But what I can give 2 examples is Bad Boys for Life and Zoolander 2. When Zoolander 2 came out, it was been a long window between films, and what they tried to do was retread old jokes because they tried to fit in what worked here but didn't work here, and it flopped because they didn't recognize growth of the characters. They were just trying to rehash the same material. Another
one would be Frozen and Frozen 2. It's the same story. It's just you have a little bit of character growth in between. But the archetypes are all the same.
Yeah, everything's the same in Frozen 2. So when it comes to Frozen.
All of that goes into my main thing we were discussing prior to the show. We'll kind of recap that and then move forward with that. And that is the trailer for Fast 9 dropped. And the Fast and Furious franchise is one of those that I feel is getting tired. Because it's like we're having this... This is a franchise that started off as a single.
Yeah.
And some people didn't want to return, so the second one kind of went in a different direction.
Yeah. And
then we have the 3rd released film, but not the 3rd one in the storyline.
No.
And that's Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was all of a sudden, now we're doing the Fast and the Furious, Fast 5, 6, 7, 8. And all of a sudden the story this universe has expanded. These people are all together, but it's starting to feel that after a certain point, after you introduced Hobbs, then it seems like 6, 7, and 8 had the same archetype for the villain. Different actor who played the villain. Somewhat different motivations, but the overall archetype. And now we're getting the 9th one. Now we have a 4th film in a row where the archetype for the villain appears to be the same. I mean, and that's what we were getting into discussion. And that's where it's like I'm thinking, and then all of a sudden we have this thing where it's like, okay, in the 9th film we're bringing Han back.
It's not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. People.
It's in the trailer.
It's in all the marketing.
Han coming back in the 9th film. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Why? I'm thinking this is based on the way the other films have gone. This feels like it's I'm running out of ideas. Let me bring people back. And I think bringing Han back, I'm not a fan of. I'm sure it'll be a great in the story within this franchise.
And it might work.
It might work, but just based on my initial impressions and my initial reactions, I'm not a fan of Han coming back because I felt that his story was capped really well. Yeah. I feel there was plenty of growth. There was... Because you have... Tokyo Drift was the third film released.
Yeah.
But then in Fast 4, 5... and 6.
Yeah, you're right.
4, 5, and 6, we have the story of Han.
Yeah.
Where we have his introduction, we have how he knew Dom, we have how he leading up to his time in Tokyo.
Yeah.
That was good because okay, now we're reshuffling the timeline for the films and making this standalone film Tokyo Drift, which to be honest had the least connections to Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Aside from here's a street racing community in another country.
Yeah. The only connection it had was
the post-credit scene or the end scene where it's like Dom is in Tokyo and challenges the guy to a race because he had heard of Han dying and wanting to see this person. Which we get into Fast 7. 7, where we're introduced to Deckard Shaw.
Yeah.
And the end scenes in Fast 6, where we get that scene where Deckard is introduced, and Deckard is they show the car crash in Tokyo, and the way the scene was shot in Tokyo Drift is like you didn't see every angle.
No.
So in Fast 6, when they introduced here's another angle, and now we can introduce Deckard, that it fit.
Yeah.
So then we go into let's go into Fast 7, where it's like, all right, Dom goes to Tokyo. They reshoot the extension of the scene we see in Tokyo, where Dom talks to I can't remember his name right now, but talks to the protagonist from Tokyo Drift about Han passing, and then adding in the photo of Giselle, which is great. But it doesn't feel like that. It felt like that added layers to that story, and it did not. And you realize that if you've seen Tokyo Drift, Han's death is actually pretty pivotal in the story and the emotions of the story. So I feel that having Han come back in this 9th film like he is risen from the dead is taking away from that story and that element in Tokyo Drift. And that's what we were discussing prior to starting the show. So now that you're all caught up and if you want to hear what we're going to continue to discuss, you'll want to check out the Patreon section of our show, where it would say strictly Patreon members only aspect of the show, where we continue to talk about various things and whatnot. So with that, we're going to take a break, take a pause, go through our closing contact info, and then shift over to the Patreon, where we will continue this discussion of franchise fatigue and why does it seem like some choices don't make a lot of sense? And this, again, our opinions, strictly our opinions. It's good discussion. So, right, take it away. How can we find us?
You can go ahead and find me, Ry Guy, at Incubus Tribe on Instagram. Like, message, send a friend request, or you can find Scuba at ScubaCod on Twitter.
Facebook, Instagram, all of those places.
Everything.
All right, you can find the studio at facebook.com/Scuba Studio, where we post some updates on the upcoming show and when the show's broadcasting AM. Plus, we have the discussion section where we can discuss each episodes, and you guys can throw in your 2 cents and tell us what you think, and possibly give us some suggestions on stories to talk about. If you like the show, want to support the show, as we were just alluding to, go over to patreon.com/Scuba Studio. On Patreon/Scuba Studio, where we Patreon members get exclusive access and early access to all of our content and discussion. Also access to a Patreon-only section in our Discord server where you can discuss with us in our Patreon-only chat, because that's an interactive chat with Patreon members. You can email us at scubastudio@gmail.com. Tell us what you think. Tell us some suggestions, if whatnot. On Discord, we have our server, Scuba Studio. Link in the show notes. I think. And if you want to check out the audio version of our show, you can find the podcast version on Google Play, Apple Podcast, and Spotify.
Oh yeah, everywhere and everywhere.
Trying to get it all in there.
Get out there, people. Get out there. Find us. Surf us. Do everything.
So, anything I missed on that? I think we got all that. All right.
No, we good.
We good. All right.
Good.
Well, thank you for checking us out. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week.
Peace.